If you are an online coach, a content creator, a consultant, and you're running an online business, this episode is going to be specifically for you. I'm going to really break down how I scaled from only having about $4,000 a month in sales to over $90,000 a month in 10 months. I'm going to give you, I literally got all these papers and stuff here because I'm going to be so transparent. I'm going to break down 4 or 5 different tactics that you can do to start having that money work for you. Come on in, let's dive into it. So here's the deal. In my first business, what I did was I literally printed out everything. So if you see me shuffling around papers and all that stuff, it's only because I want to give you really the step-by-step process that took me from not only just 4K to 90K in 10 months, but what I did was I actually went to my second year as well. And from 90K, we scaled to basically 373,294, which is all listed right here as well. So I really wanted to give you a lot of meat, a lot of game in this episode so that you can take all of this stuff. For us, it isn't just about building businesses, but really it's about creating the right wealth building mindset and not only taking that mindset, but now to implement it so that you can start to create echo income, which when I really start to think about freedom for me, that's exactly what I wanted to do. At the age of 32, 33 years old, when I was broke and struggling, living in a 700 square foot condo, what I wanted more than anything was freedom. I wanted to start chasing freedom. How can I build something? How can I buy something that eventually is going to outpace me and outpace my efforts? So let's dive into it because here's the deal. I want to really start off by just getting into the mindset that helped me scale from to 90K. And I would say the first thing is taking extreme ownership. When I started my business, it was this little part-time business. And even in part-time, if I look back at it, part-time, I had made basically $4,500 in sales, and our product was only like a $300 product, right? So I probably had a good maybe like 15 or so clients in the health and wellness space, which part-time, that's not that bad. That's an additional $4,500 a month. You multiply that by 12, man, you got a nice little part-time business. What I started to see was when I decided to go full-time, quit my job at Johnson& Johnson as a pharmaceutical sales and medical sales rep, and I decided to go full-time a few months later, then my productivity doubled as it should. So it doubled that month of September. It went from $4,500 a month to $9,000 a month in sales. But remember, I'm doing all the selling. I quit my full-time job to start a business, but if I'm being honest with you, I was working more in the business with marketing and sales and client acquisition and all this stuff, and trying to figure out how you actually do it. But you can see that my income doubled within a couple months, but it should because I was spending more time on that. But then I hit a bottleneck because basically all I was doing from September basically until all the way into the following January was my sales went from $9,000 a month to basically $15,000 a month. And that's all we were bringing into the business was about $15,000 a month, which is not bad when it's just me out there, selling this service, selling these products. But if you take a $300 product and I got $15,000 in sales, that's a ton of clients and customers that me by myself is helping. So even though I'm not working full time, I'm not working a 9 to 5 anymore. I don't have to wear the fancy suits. I don't have, to wear all of the watches, which if you would have known me back there, my whole life was about looking good and wearing fancy watches. In fact, I think I got a drawer upstairs to where I still got a whole bunch of those fancy watches. I have not worn a watch like that in over 10 years, but that's what life was about. But now I have a full-time business and I'm probably servicing 70 to 80 clients a month, which that's not freedom. That is basically, that's not a business. All I did was create a job for myself. And so that month of January, something happened because my sales went from $15,000 a month, watch this, to $30,000 a month, to 50,000, to 90,000, to 116,000. This is month over month, to 144,000, to 203,000, to 231,000, to 291,000, to 373,000. How does that happen? How does you go from $15,000 a month in sales and revenue to $373,000 a month in revenue? I'm going to break it down for you. So really, let's dive into the mindset because I really want you to get this. And so basically, I got 5 mindsets that are really going to help you, that helped me during that time. Before I moved into January of that year when I was making $15,000 a month, I actually was going to quit the business and go back to my full-time job because I was so tired and I was frustrated and I was mad and I hit a bottleneck and I couldn't figure it out. And I would stay up at night and I would get mad at just like not being able to figure it out. And at this time in my life, I didn't read books. I didn't go to any seminars. I had a couple mentors, but sometimes I wasn't very coachable. But I don't know if you've ever been like this in your own business, but I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out how to get to the next step. And what I learned during that process was these 5 mindsets that I'm going to give you. And then I'm going to give you 5 tactical actions that you could take right now. So number 1 is I took extreme ownership because in May, I was the business. I did all the marketing. I did all the follow up. And what I started to realize was that I couldn't just sit around and blame anymore or hope or wish or even just pray. I needed to get into action. And that really came down to, write this down, if it's to be, it's up to me. And I think what I was hoping for like this easy road. I was hoping for like these handouts, which is dumb because I was in sales before, but I think I was hoping for the process to be easier. And what I started to learn was that um, none of this stuff is going to happen unless I force it to happen. And I think the other thing too is like, I knew that from starting this business, I wanted freedom. And the whole thing was about chasing freedom, as I said. But really, I didn't know that freedom had a cost. I didn't know that there was a price to be paid. I thought that, I don't know, man, like, I didn't know that freedom wasn't free. And what's so wild about it, just think about it in your own business. If you want to do something that's never been done, then you have to become somebody you've never become. And I thought that the bare minimum, I had done the bare minimum in my pharmaceutical sales job. I had done the bare minimum in my medical device job. And bare minimum have kind of always got me by in my professional career. And now that I started my own business and there's nobody to lean on but me, I was hoping bare minimum would put me in a 1%. But truly, you have to be somebody different if you want something different. Like right now, you're looking at me in the studio, but this is like a very unusual neighborhood that we're in right now. And in order to be in a neighborhood like this, you have to be different. And so I think that mindset of ownership is where you really got to start. Is every single thing that happens is going to come down to you and you making the decision that it's on you. Number 2, urgency over perfection. Um, I think a lot of times what stops people, and it never stopped me, thankfully, but I've seen it stop a lot of other entrepreneurs. I've seen it stop a lot of people who's on this online space that have consulting agencies, marketing agencies, so on and so forth. What stops them is they want perfection. And the one thing that really helped me was all I wanted was progress. And I didn't want to be perfect. I didn't want to have the perfect audio, the perfect video, the perfect sales script, the perfect pitch, the perfect client, the perfect customer, the perfect market, the perfect marketing plan. I didn't want none of that stuff. I was like, give me people and let me go talk to them and let me fail my way to success. And that's exactly what happened from that first 4,000 to 90,000. Was it was more about urgency than perfection. It was about making the calls. It was about following up. It was about moving with speed instead of moving with mediocrity. In fact, I would say that I moved with mediocrity, but the speed was the most important. So urgency over perfection. Don't overthink and overcomplicate the process. Just get going. Number three is I had to learn to replace myself. And I would say this is probably where the bottleneck is for most businesses and most entrepreneurs. As you guys know, on this podcast, and this is why you come back, we interview seven figure, eight figure, nine figure entrepreneurs and investors. To hit seven figures, it is nearly impossible. I don't know that I know any person that's hit seven figures on their own. I don't know that I know one. I know that when I was growing up, me and my buddies, all of us talked about making six figures. I don't know anybody who has made seven figures personally or in the business that's done it all on their own. And so why I was stuck at $15,000 a month is because I wouldn't scale. I didn't scale. I didn't know how to scale. I didn't know how to lead people. I didn't know how to cast vision. I didn't know how to give hope. I didn't know how to hire. I didn't know how to recruit. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. So I spent most of my days trying to do things on my own. How can I find my own clients? How can I find my own customers? And I didn't utilize any leverage at all. So I had to learn how to replace myself. And it started with those first three reps. So how I went from the 15,000 to 30,000 I told you guys about was was three people, and each of those people were doing about. I had to get them up and running, had to train them, had to motivate them, had to direct them, had to lead them on how to now start duplicating what I've already done. And so now what happens is it's not so much about me working in the business, it's me taking the time to work on the business. So replacing myself, like if I could go back and do anything over again, it would have been from day one having the mentality that we're not going to be successful because of me, we're going to be successful in spite of me. That if I want to get somewhere fast, I'll do it by myself. But if I want to go far, I do it with a team. And I start to learn how to become a leader. And that was something that I didn't know how to do. So the way we started scaling was I went to a conference, a business conference that January, and I listened to the speaker, and the speaker had basically taken a company from, infancy to a $2 billion company. And what he was talking about was the rate at which they scaled, the rate at which they built a network of a whole bunch of sales reps that could go out there and all be aligned with the same mission, the same values, the same purpose, but all have the same direction. And and I remember driving back home. I lived in Long Beach at the time, but I remember driving back home on a 405 freeway, and I remember it just hitting me that I'm my own bottleneck. I got to learn how to scale. I got to learn how to start bringing people in here. And so once we started doing that, then that's how you start to see the numbers really grow. So I encourage you in your business, maybe you're the problem. Maybe you're the bottleneck. Maybe the business is growing because of you, and you got to get the business to start growing in spite of you. If you weren't there, could you guys make sales? I literally have businesses right now that I'm sitting here talking to you, and today we are making tons and tons and tons of sales, and I'm not even involved with the businesses anymore. And so you want to get businesses to get up to that point to where it starts to operate almost on autopilot because of the systems and the processes and the people that you bought in. So replace yourself as fast as possible. This is the mindset. Number 4, um, leaders grow themselves first. So here's what's funny, man. If you would have asked me 13 years ago to read a book, I would have looked at you like you had a disease. Like I would have looked at you like something was wrong with you. Like you want me to read? You want me like the podcast and all that stuff wasn't really that big, but if you wanted me to sit down and read a book on how to develop myself, how to grow myself, how to become a better leader, a better speaker, a better investor, a better motivator, more empathetic, I would not have done it. um, in fact, I remember winning all of these awards, and the prizes were like Amazon gift cards to buy books. And I remember every time I went up to the stage and got one of these awards, I was pissed off because in my mind I was thinking, what the hell am I going to do with this? So here's what I learned. Leaders grow themselves first. Once I hit that $30,000 a month, I doubled down on personal growth, on conferences, on communication skills, on leadership training. I realized that like so much of my responsibility was actually getting the most out of other people. Like that was my main job, is how can I grow other people? And if I invest enough into them, if I give them enough encouragement, if I give them enough direction, if I give them enough inspiration, if I give them enough belief, if I give them enough vision, then all I have to really focus on is giving them everything that they want. And then in turn, I'll get everything that I want. And so it's not necessarily going out there and marketing every day and selling every day and closing every day and creating relationships and partnerships every day. The job had changed now. The job had changed to being a sales rep to being a CEO and overlooking an entire organization and making sure that you got the right players in the right positions so that they could win. It'd be highly dumb for me to take somebody, if I'm building a professional sports team, and I take somebody who's an offensive lineman and I try to make them a world class wide receiver. It's not going to happen. So I got to recruit an offensive lineman so that he can play offensive line. And I got to recruit a wide receiver so that he can be a wide receiver. And I got to recruit a quarterback so that he could be a quarterback. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have the best quarterback, receiver, offensive lineman, but you do have to have people with grit, motivation, desire, hunger, those type of qualities. And then all the intangibles, you could actually train them. And here's the thing, you're only going to be able to train them up until the level of vision and that you give them about themselves. So if they see themselves small, they're always going to play small. So a big part of your role is to get them to see themselves a lot bigger, to actually borrow your belief in them until they can actually start to take that belief and believe it in themselves. So much of my journey the last 10 to 13 years have actually been more in the realm of developing people than in anything else. Your business is never going to get bigger than the people that you develop. It's just not going to happen. And I didn't know that before because I was thinking so small and myopic. I was only thinking about How can I go out there and get the marketing and the sales and all that stuff? And so much of building an organization is people development. And in order to do that, you have to grow yourself first because it's never going to get bigger than your own development. And number 5 is what I've been talking about. Don't just work in it, work on it. When I started scaling to 90,000, as I told you, right? It's right here. From 90,000 a month. And remember, this was only 10 months into the business. It's not like years and years and years, right? I had never run a business before. I never had a business before. This is my very first business. So 90,000 a month to 116,000 to 139,000 to 195 to 203 all the way up to 373,000. Now, this was within 2.5 years of starting the business. So there's a lot to learn, a lot to learn. And remember, man, I'm having a lot of personal issues at this time. My wife was wanting to leave me. Like it was a lot of crazy stuff. So don't just work in it, work on it. So I stopped being the superstar and became the systems guy. When I say the systems guy, I'm not naturally a systems guy. In fact, I'm allergic to I love systems. I don't like building them. And I remember this is when they say success happens in the hours that nobody sees. Because I was in my room oftentimes because we still live in 700 square feet. It was just 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1.5 bathrooms. So my wife would go to sleep. My son would be asleep in the other room. And I just remember being up, just writing and creating, writing sales scripts, writing marketing scripts, writing training scripts. I didn't have enough capital to bring in a sales manager and a training manager and all that stuff. So I had to do it. Training protocols, SOPs, all these things. If we didn't have, Chat GPT and all the stuff that we have now. So it is about doing the little things and building that process when people are pretending, when people are busy doing other stuff. And systems are what is going to create freedom. What's up, fam? I hope that you're enjoying this episode. Listen, I want to invite you to a 3-day experience that you will never forget. We call it Master Your Money Challenge. Let me break it down for you. If you're at a place in your life and in your business right now to where you're doing well financially, but you know there's an entirely different mountain to climb, I want to invite you to spend 3 days with myself and my team as I help you not just figure out how to make more money, but exactly in specific steps on what to do with it. Day 1, you're really going to learn how to get clear on what it is that you want to do, the goals that you have in the future, and then we're going to build your own personalized financial roadmap. Day number 2, you're going to build the 3 plans that have gotten me to making multi-millions in investing, to where we really focus on being safe, being comfortable, and building a plan for wealth. And then on day 3, we're going to dive in and really go through all the different investing vehicles, which is going to be best for you and give you the greatest maximum returns. Go ahead and click the link right here in the show notes, and we hope that you join us. We'll talk to you soon. You guys get this book. Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called The Cash Flow Quadrant. Brilliant book. Took me reading it a couple times for me to really start to understand it. And it is one of the keys that I really train on today, because there is a big, big difference between people who say they want freedom and the ones that actually go and get freedom. And freedom is going to be defined in lots of different ways, but the way I define freedom is having a stress-free life to where I'm making an income and an impact in spite of me. Whether I show up today, people are being transformed. Whether I show up today, finances are rolling in, to where if I never really wanted to work again a day in my life, that I would be able to do that without impacting my level of living conditions and comfortability. All I want is to be free. I want to wear what I want to wear. I want to go down the street dressed any way that I want. I want to be able to travel when I want to. I want to be able to hang with my kids. I basically want to be able to dictate every single minute, hour in my day and do what I want to do. One thing that I hate is when I feel like I'm being bullied and people are telling me what to do. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I don't want people directing me. I don't want people telling me it's time to come, time to go. And I certainly don't want to be in a position to where I have to do something because I don't have the resources. I just want to be free. I want to do me. So how you do it though is you have to build systems and you have to invest. There's four different people to make up our economy. One are employees. Now, I'm technically an employee. I get paid a W-2 salary from my companies. So I am an employee. Number two is you have people to start small businesses. And what they do is they leave a job typically to give themselves a job. Because if they are not there, usually the money will stop flowing in. Number three is big business owners, people that build businesses off of systems that business can get better even if they're not there. And number four are investors. If you want true freedom, then you want to be on the right side of that quadrant with building a big business and becoming an investor. How you build a big business is what I'm talking about here, is becoming the systems person. Having systems that are in there that are going to help people and help you expand, even if you are not there. If it just comes down to you working and working and working and working and everything being on you, you do not have a business. You just created a job. Because the minute you leave, that thing is going to go poo-poo. That is not what you want. When you hear us interview people, you hear all of these people with really big businesses because they have created systems. How can this thing flow and operate without me needing to be here? And the way that you do that is build systems. I had to learn how to build systems. And that's why a few years later, we went from, 373,000 a month in revenue to now, at one point in time in that business to over 4 million a month in revenue. And it's because you built the systems bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bring on more teammates. You have to expand. It's called leverage. So let's talk about the 5 tactical plays that actually got me there and that can help you as well. Number one, I simply hired more people with clear expectations. I stopped trying to do it all alone and I onboarded reps and made sales predictable. This is something that you can implement in your own business now. It is something that we're doing right now and Think Life is Different as well. Number two, I built SOPs and sales scripts. Everyone had the same old way. I created consistency and results across the board. I still remember my very first sales script. And I remember when the sales reps came on, almost all of them said, "This doesn't feel like me." Let me just say it again. Almost all of them said, "This doesn't feel like me." And what happens is after you have them do it over and over and over and over again, and you train and you watch videos and you have them watch videos and you do it, here it is, here's leadership. Do it for them, do it with them, watch them do it, and then elevate them to a point to where you can watch them teach it to other people. Now, these 4 steps is exactly what I do with my kids in this house. I do it for them, I do it with them, I watch them do it, and then I watch them teach it to their siblings or to friends. And this is how you get mastery. Oh my gosh, I'm just giving you game right now. Number 3, started to train weekly, but I led daily. Write that down. Train weekly, led daily. And there's oftentimes where I train daily and led hourly, or I train daily and led every minute. right? So it wasn't just about hoping people succeeded. Most people are going to do the bare minimum. Let me just say this. They will do enough to basically not get fired and to keep their job. And remember, like, I think a lot of it is just human technology, human personality. But most people don't have the mentality to where, like, we have a philosophy in my house where me and the kids and the family know we always do more than what's expected. That's not really the worldview of most people. Most people are going to do just enough to keep their jobs, just enough to put food on the table, just enough to pay their bills, just enough to live in comfort. And so your job is to lift people higher, then they're going to be willing to go on their own. It's almost like if you go to the gym and you get a trainer and you're working on your biceps and you want to stop after the fifth rep. And the trainer says, no, give me 5 more. And then you do 10 in total. Now, you by yourself would only do 5. Why? Because you're just doing enough. You're only going to push yourself so much. But now someone else comes alongside of you and they say, you got more in you. You're more gifted than that. And in fact, for where we're going, you're being called to a higher level now, right? Now they'll give you more. They always got more in them, but they're rarely just going to produce that on their own. And so you got to call that out of them. And so this is why your ability to develop them and then develop the leaders of them. Because at some point in time, you're going to have, a marketing manager, you're going to have a sales manager, you're going to have an ops manager, and your job is to develop them too so that they can develop the people. And this is why you have to have a CEO framework and worldview now, not just a solopreneur. And if you don't, you're only going to be able to scale to so much. Like you're not going to be able to make, $1 million of income, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million with and not consistently and not with the same amount of freedom. You might be able to make, $1 million, 2 million, 5 million, whatever, but it's going to require you to work a ton and you're going to find yourself working all the time. So number 4, held in-person events and virtual events. This is one of the best things that you can do and one of the things that pays the most is to get how do you say that word? Camaraderie, and to get people to work together. And one of the best ways to do that is to put these people around each other all the time. Get them to become friends and then weed out the negative people. Like absolutely weed them out. One negative person can infect the whole organization. And so you got to get those people out. But, team building, it's critical. Zooms, local event, leadership nights, win celebrations. And part of that is publicly recognizing people. Awards, 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 awards. Plaques, 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 plaques. What I will tell you is a person will do more for your organization for a plaque than they even will for more money. Public recognition is one of the best things that you can do to have someone go the extra mile. You don't even have to boost the income. Just get a $25 award and you'll be amazed. They'll post it all over social media. The kids will send you letters. The next time you see the husband or wife, they're going to be in tears. I'm telling you, that goes a long way. Number 5, focus on mission, not just money. This is huge. Even when I remember when I made this shift and started to give my team a why and got clear on directions, our standard and our story, I even started changing my language from team to family. So even when I address this podcast, I'll say something like, "What's up, fam?" or "What's up, family?" or "How's our family doing?" or something like that. That was intentional change of language from team to family. What feels better? We're on the same team or we're in the same family? And something just as simple as that will start to change culture and get people to see in decades, not in just days. Because if you could see in decades, then you'll have more of a buy-in. So those are 5 tactical things. Let's talk about now that you're starting to make the money, because on my podcast, I'm not just worried about making the money is just one skill. There's 3 skills in building wealth: making the money, managing the money, and growing the money. Unfortunately, most of us stop at the first skill, which is just making the money. All of us know how to make a dollar. Very few of us know how to manage a dollar, and even less of us know how to grow a dollar. So now that you're starting to make more, let's talk about what you do with it. So, very first mistake that most of you are going to make, because I made it too, is collusion in your business account and your personal account. The very first thing that I would encourage you to do, and the mistake that I made, was blending my income and expenses from the business to my personal. And when we help our students, it's one of the biggest mistakes they make too. No matter what businesses they're running, they're using the business as an ATM for personal, and they're using their personal to siphon money off of the business, and it's colluded, and it makes it hard for taxes and investing and all sorts of stuff. You got to separate both of those. That's number one. Number two is, do not increase your living conditions. Try to get to a place where you're only living off of 60 to 70% of your income. Now, this is going to be hard because you have desires and you're going to want more than you actually need right now. But this is a time and a season to be extremely dialed in so that you can keep your expenses low, increase your income, which is going to give us the ability to invest more. So save aggressively. Do not inflate your lifestyle, and do not inflate it even though the income's growing. My lifestyle was the exact same at 15,000 to 30,000 to 90,000 to 400,000 to a million. I didn't start changing my lifestyle until probably we were already doing 2.5 million a month in revenue. Think about that. I was still driving the same Prius. My wife was still driving the same old Honda Civic. Um, I went from 700 square feet to 1,000. Like, my lifestyle, I didn't buy new stuff. In fact, I stopped buying stuff altogether once I read a book called The Millionaire Next Door. But do not increase your lifestyle. Don't try to make people think something about you, and those people don't really even care about you like that. Keep your lifestyle like extremely lean. Number 3, start investing into broad index funds monthly. So even during growth mode, I still was investing every single month, and it was automated and it was consistent into broad growth index funds that cover the entire market. One of the things, and one of our students asked me even last night, what stock should I invest in? And I said, I'm going to answer your question, but let me answer it a way that I want to before I give you the answer that you're looking for. Because when they ask that, they're looking for, how can I make a quick buck? How can I get 50% returns, 70% returns? And I say, instead of trying to, get the needle in the haystack, just buy the whole haystack. And if you can start investing into a broad market index fund that covers the whole haystack and gives you ownership of the entire haystack, then do that, because you're going to have massive diversity and you're going to limit your risk profile. And right now along your journey, you want to maximize or I should say minimize risks as much as possible. You do not want to lose money, and you don't need to be making 15%, 20%, 50% returns, not at this juncture of your journey. So invest into a broad index ETF mutual fund. Number 4, start passive income streams. So I started taking the profit from the business and started investing in the real estate and private lending. One of the very first things I did outside of investing into broad index funds was starting to acquire real estate. Now, here's the deal. I have a ton of money to put in real estate, so I started investing I live in Southern California. Real estate can get a little bit pricey here. So I started going to states that allowed me to actually get into the game. And a lot of times we're waiting for like this big stuff. Well, I'm saying just get into the game. Just start owning stuff. Just start, like, we don't have to. I remember when I got my first couple rentals, two of my very best friends started making fun of me because these rental properties were so damn cheap. I mean, I think I bought one for like $30,000, a whole house, probably like 1,500 square feet. I bought another one for 50,000. But the first house that I bought in Georgia was 118,000. But here's the thing: that same house that I bought for 118,000 now is valued at over 300,000. My mortgage, taxes, and insurance on that same little house was only, when I first bought it, was like $550. In the neighborhood where that house is, the average rents are $1,800. So you're telling me my mortgage, taxes, and insurance and maintenance is only around $700 a month, but I can rent a place for $1,500, $1,600 a month? So sometimes you just got to get in the game. But for me, at the very beginning, was real estate. And then I started learning how to lend money, how to find people that wanted to go out and invest in things but didn't have the capital. But now, because I was being diligent, I wasn't overextending my lifestyle. I have more money that I could save and invest. That now I could use this money to have it go work for me, whether that was in the stock market, real estate, or in private lending. So start developing other passive income streams while you spend 99% of your time on your business, right? These other passive income streams cannot take up a ton of your time because you are building a business that's going to hopefully generate generational wealth. Number 5, build a wealth map. It's not just a budget, but a 3-tier plan. What has made me so successful and so many students that come under our umbrella so successful now is the plan. Even last night when a young lady on our 3-day challenge was asking me about investing, what should she invest in? And I said, I want to take a step back because what's more important than the vehicle is the plan. And the 3 plans that I would encourage you to use is the plan to be safe, the plan to be comfortable, and the plan to be wealthy. And in all of these plans, we have different components of the plan that we do not move on to the next segment until these components have first been checked off. So I would never, ever invest in an individual stock until all of the boxes that have been checked in that safe and secure plan. I wouldn't even think about an individual stock because that's further down the line. We have to get things in order, like our insurances, like our emergency fund, like our own house, like our financial team. So with my guys, I have a whole list of things that you want to do before you start thinking about, like, do I invest in Microsoft or Tesla, or do I invest in Nvidia, or do I invest in, all these sexy companies? No, let's make sure that you're safe first and protected. So, man, I hope that you guys can see how you can start to grow. A lot of times the bottleneck is you and your refusal to expand. And I will tell you this. One of the reasons why, especially solopreneurs, whether in the online space or even out there, really struggle is because as you start to go to, you know, 50, 15,000, 30,000, 100,000, $200,000 a month, then you start expanding your lifestyle and you start, moving into neighborhoods that I'm in now. You start buying 50, 70, $100,000 cars, and you start getting boats and all these things. And this is why it's so important to be lean so that you can take that money, put it back into your business, expand your team so that you have more distribution channels, so that you can create more SOPs and more systems. And now you just expand the system and you're able to expand the revenue. Write this down. In due time. If you do this thing right, in due time, you're going to have all that sexy stuff that you really want. You're going to be able to invest in private equity like we invest in now. You're going to be able to invest in venture capital. You're going to be able to be an executive producer on a few different movies. You're going to be able to invest in commercial real estate, right? You're going to be able to do these things that you hear about and sound really sexy. But for right now, it's about being locked in and it's about being dialed in. Hey, if this episode and this conversation brought you any value, I'm going to encourage you to go on and like this, share this, and go on to subscribe to the channel. We have a 3-day challenge that's coming up. We'll have the link in the show notes below. And until the next episode, we encourage you to build your business, invest wisely, and we will see you soon.